You wake up, but you cannot move. Your eyes are open. The room is exactly as you left it. The ceiling, the walls, the window, all there. But your body is a stone. Your arms will not lift. Your legs will not shift. You try to call out and nothing comes. And then you feel it. A presence. Something in the corner. Something at the foot of the bed. Something that does not belong there. And yet your brain is absolutely certain it is real. This has happened to roughly 8% of people at least once in their lives. Some experience it regularly. Some carry it into religion. Some carry it into folklore. Some carry it into the therapist's office. And almost all of them describe the same thing: the paralysis, the presence, and the overwhelming terror that something is about to happen. But here is what no one tells you when they describe sleep paralysis as just a strange quirk of the sleeping brain. It is not strange at all. It is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. The horror is a feature, not a glitch. And once you understand why, you will never experience that ceiling stare the same way again. Your brain does not actually sleep. Not all of it, not at once. Sleep is not a single state your body drops into like falling off a ledge. It is a cycle, a careful, choreographed sequence of states that your brain moves through repeatedly across the night. Most people know the names light sleep, deep sleep, REM. But what most people do not know is what REM actually is and what it requires your brain to do to the rest of your body. REM stands for rapid eye movement. It is the stage of sleep where the most vivid dreaming happens. Your eyes flick beneath your eyelids. Your brain lights up with activity that rivals wakefulness. You are, in every neurological sense, almost awake. You are simulating an experience so vividly that your brain cannot fully distinguish it from reality. And here is the problem. If your body followed every instruction your dreaming brain sent, if your legs sprinted when your dream self ran, if your arms swung when your dream self fought, you would be a danger to yourself and everyone around you. So evolution solved this. During REM sleep, your brain sends a deliberate signal down the spinal cord that temporarily paralyzes your voluntary muscles. Not your heart, not your lungs, not the muscles that keep you breathing. Just the ones you use to move intentionally. Researchers call this REMatonia. It is the body's way of watching a movie with the sound off. All the story, none of the chaos. Matthew Walker, a neuroscientist at the University of California, Berkeley, and author of some of the most cited sleep research in the last decade, describes REM sleep as the brain's overnight therapy session. The emotional content of your memories gets processed. Trauma gets softened. Connections get formed. Your brain is doing significant work. And REMatonia is what keeps the warehouse from catching fire while the sorting happens. Sleep paralysis occurs when this system misfires at the boundary. You begin to surface from REM. Consciousness starts to return. But the paralysis, the deliberate chemical shutdown of your voluntary muscles, does not lift on schedule. The two systems fall out of sync. Your mind wakes up. Your body does not follow. And for anywhere from a few seconds to several minutes, you exist in both states at once. Awake enough to know something is wrong. Still deep enough in the dream architecture that your brain has not fully closed the door on what it was doing. That is when the presence arrives. In 1999, a Canadian psychologist named Al Cheney published research that would reframe the way scientists talked about sleep paralysis hallucinations. Cheney and his colleagues surveyed hundreds of people who experienced sleep paralysis and found that the hallucinations clustered into three distinct categories, which he called sensed presence, incubus, and vestibular motor. The sensed presence, the feeling that something is in the room, was the most commonly reported. It was not just seeing something, it was knowing something was there. A certainty with no visual anchor, a threat with no face. Why does the brain manufacture a presence? Because during REM, your brain is running a threat detection simulation. The prefrontal cortex, the part of you that evaluates evidence and says, wait, let me think about this, is dimmed during REM sleep. What remains active is the amygdala, the alarm system, the ancient part of the brain that does not ask questions, it just answers them. And the amygdala's answer to an inexplicable body that will not move in a world that still feels like a dream is not confusion. Its answer is, something is here and it is dangerous. Your brain fills the room with what fear looks like. Because in the absence of a threat, a body that cannot move still registers as catastrophic. The safest guess the amygdala can make is predator, intruder, entity. The threat has to be somewhere. The brain will not accept the alternative, which is that nothing is wrong but you are just experiencing a neurological hiccup. That is too abstract, so it manufactures the worst explanation instead. This is not unique to modern humans. Sleep paralysis hallucinations appear in the written record across thousands of years of human civilization. In ancient Mesopotamia, there were descriptions of a night demon, a crushing weight upon the chest during sleep. In medieval Europe, it was called the Old Hag, a witch or spirit that sat on your chest in the dark and stole your breath. In Japan, the phenomenon is called Kanashibari, to be bound by metal. In Newfoundland folklore, it is the old hag who rides you in your sleep. In West Africa, it is a witch that pins you to the bed. In Brazil, it is the pisadeira, a long-nailed woman who walks on the chests of sleeping people. Every culture, every continent, the same experience. The paralysis, the presence, the crushing weight. What you are feeling is not madness, it is the oldest alarm in your body, sounding in a context it was never designed for. Shelley Adler, a researcher and professor at the University of California, San Francisco, spent years studying a specific population of Hmong refugees who had immigrated to the United States in the late 1970s and early 1980s after the Vietnam War. Something alarming was happening. Young, healthy Hmong men were dying in their sleep. No clear medical cause, they were simply found dead in the morning. Autopsies returned nothing. Adler traced the pattern back to a cultural belief in a night spirit called the Dab Tsog, a crushing nocturnal presence. She concluded that sleep paralysis, combined with extreme terror in a population already under catastrophic stress, may have contributed to cardiac events during the night. Fear, pushed hard enough and deep enough, can reach the heart. That is how real this experience is, not metaphorically, physiologically. The crushing sensation, what many people describe as something sitting on their chest, also has an explanation. During erematonia, your breathing muscles are partially affected. Your chest can feel heavy. Your breath can feel shallow or restricted. Your brain interprets this physical sensation through the lens of whatever the amygdala is already constructing. If the amygdala says something is in the room and your chest feels compressed, the conclusion is obvious. The thing in the room is on top of you. The thing in the room is pressing down. So your brain builds a body for it and places it exactly where the weight is. The most interesting detail about sleep paralysis hallucinations is how consistent they are across people who have never compared notes. The figure is usually dark. It is usually at the foot of the bed or in the corner. It is usually watching. It does not always attack, but it always threatens. People rarely report a familiar face. It is almost never someone they know. It is a silhouette of threat without a history, because the amygdala does not consult your memory when it builds a predator. It just builds the idea of one. Some researchers, including neuroscientist Balan Jalal, have explored why certain people experience sleep paralysis more frequently. Stress is the largest predictor. Sleep deprivation is another. Sleeping on your back increases likelihood, possibly because the sensation of chest weight is more pronounced in that position, which may be why the mythology so often places the entity on top of the sleeper. Anxiety disorders correlate strongly. Post-traumatic stress correlates strongly. Your nervous system, already primed for threat in your waking life, does not fully stand down when you sleep. What can you do if this happens to you? The first thing that works reliably is something almost absurdly simple. Move one small thing, not your whole body. One finger, one toe. The paralysis is not complete. The muscles that move your extremities respond slightly faster. A tiny voluntary movement can sometimes break the loop. It sends a signal up through the nervous system that contradicts what the brain is doing. It is like rebooting a frozen screen by pressing a single key. The second thing that works is controlled breathing. You can move your diaphragm even when you cannot move your limbs. A deliberate, slow exhale can shift your nervous system out of the alarm state and back toward wakefulness. The amygdala is loudest when breathing is shallow and fast. Slow it down and you change the chemistry. The third thing is to know it is happening. Researchers find that people who understand sleep paralysis before they experience it report significantly less terror than those who do not. When your brain knows the explanation, it gives the amygdala a different conclusion to land on. Not predator, not entity, neurological event. The presence does not vanish, but it loses some of its power. Your brain has been doing this for millions of years, locking the body down at night so the mind could wander safely, keeping the voluntary muscles still so the dreaming animal would not throw itself into a wall in the dark. This mechanism is ancient and tested and largely reliable. But reliability is not perfection, and sometimes the timing slips. When it does, the oldest part of your brain does what it always does at the edge of sleep and threat. It builds something to be afraid of. It places the danger in the room. It makes you feel the weight of it. Tonight, tonight. When you lie down and the room goes quiet, your brain will begin its cycle. Most nights, you will cross the REM boundary cleanly. The paralysis will lift before consciousness returns. You will wake up with no memory of the machinery underneath. But somewhere in the back of your nervous system, the same system that once kept your ancestors frozen and silent when real predators move through the dark, will be doing what it has always done. Watching, waiting, ready to sound the alarm if the timing slips again. The presence is not a ghost. It is you, the most ancient version of you, doing its job.